How you doing? This is Mark with Cars and Cameras, everything cars and cameras, and today we're going to review the Sony HDR PJ790. This is the new Sony camera. It has some really cool, unique features, and I'm going to show them to you right now. So we're going to do a little quick unboxing, and here we go. Alright, let's take a look inside. So, we have our documentation here. We have our owner's manuals. There they are, an accessory guide and a warranty card. So we'll go ahead and take that out. And here we have your standard battery, and I'll go over the batteries in a minute. That's your standard battery, which is not going to get you very far. It's pretty small. Here we have your USB extension cable. There's a built-in USB on the handle of the camera, and that's one way to transfer your videos out. And I'll show you another way. Here is your little matte box hood for the camera, and we'll discuss that in a minute. And over here you have a standard HDMI cable and micro HDMI, and we'll discuss that later. Here you have your standard power cable here for the camera, and over here, that's it, you have your this is an adapter to allow you to use external filters, ND filters, polarizers, etc. But I'll discuss the downside of that later. Here you have your standard Sony wireless remote control. And what else do we have over here? Also over here we have your standard Sony charger. And I'll also discuss that in a minute. And then here we have the camera. Oh, one more thing. Hold on, what do we got here? We have a little dead cat. It's a little hood for windy conditions to use on the camera. And I'll show you that also in a minute. Alright, and then now let's get to the camera. Pull this guy out of here. There we go. It's quite small. It's actually very compact. You can see the Zeiss glass on there. Over here you can see this is your multi-function wheel. You can actually assign this wheel to do different functions. By default, I believe it's set at focusing. So basically what you can do, and that's really what you want to do with this, when you're in situations where the camera can't focus, you can press the button on the front, and then you can go ahead and turn this little thumb wheel here, and you can do your manual focusing. But the Sony camera actually has really fantastic focusing. Now another great feature on this camera you'll see around the front is this microphone. Now last year on the PJ710 this was built into the camera, and by moving it away from the camera you can actually see you're actually going to get better sound. And this also is a surround sound model. I believe last year's model was a surround sound model also. And oh, the other thing I was speaking of earlier is here you can see this connector. I can't really get out one-handed, but this is the USB, and this is one of the ways if you when you have the videos on the built-in 96 gigabyte hard drive on the camera, you'll plug this into your computer. You pull this out of the hand grip, and basically that reveals a USB receptacle, and you can go ahead and plug that into your camera, put it in USB mode, and transfer the videos to your computer. Up in the top you have your, you can see it here, you have your functions for zooming, and this camera, I'll show you later, it does have a very slow zoom capability, which I really like. If you just barely touch it, you can zoom very, very slow. First thing I want to go over is batteries. And this and this, let's just slide these out of the way for a second. These are optional accessories, but what I want to talk about is, in the old days when you got a camera like this, you had an external charger like this one, where you could just snap your battery on and charge it. Now the charger is built into the camera, and the downside to that is if you get a couple of these batteries, you can't charge them up while you're using the camera, because the camera has to be plugged in with the battery you're charging. So that's kind of a downfall of the way they're doing it these days, and I really don't like it. But you can buy these chargers. Here's one here, a Sony charger. This Sony charger charges a few different kinds of batteries, but it also charges the V-type battery that the camera uses. Now, my experience with these cameras, these batteries run really fast, especially if you're using the flip out finder and you're going to use the built-in projector. This battery is not going to last that long. So this battery here is one of the Sony batteries, the V series battery, and this particular, what you call it, brick battery, will last about the longest. Okay, so here's the Sony camera with the optional extended battery, and you can see this battery does stick out quite a distance. There's really not a lot of coverage to hide the battery underneath this camera, but like I said, if you're looking for a battery, I don't want to be replacing batteries all day long, so I like the heavier duty batteries. Now the downside I was speaking of earlier about this battery is you're not going to be able to use this rear finder, even though it does slide out. See how far it comes out? Now also, when you slide out the finder like that, on this particular model, it also turns the camera on. Now, I wear glasses and I have a hard time seeing, using this rear finder. I'm always, flipping out the side finder here. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is this rear finder is really low quality. It's terrible. I mean, basically, the only thing you're really going to use this rear finder for, if you're going to use it at anything at all, is for framing. But the thing is, I've gotten so used to using these flip-out finders that I pretty much, that's what I use all the time. And especially if you're using, this camera for its balanced steady shot, you're going to have this flip-out finder. You're going to hold the camera waist level and you're going to walk around, looking at that monitor. Okay, so this is what it looks like, the front of the camera, and you can see, you see how that lens element in there is just kind of floating around? Well, see, that's the whole optical block. And basically, it's just kind of floating around in there. And that's why the steady shot on this camera is just fantastic. Okay, so here's a shot of the camera with the matte box attached, or lens hood. And I will tell you, from testing the camera, you pretty much want to have this on the camera all the time. Especially the camera in the wide position. It really does help the stray light that enters from the side of the camera. You're going to get a lot of, I guess you'd call it kind of cross light, and kind of basically a lot of unwanted glare entering the lens if you don't use this hood. Now back to the back of the camera now, and what I wanted to go over is, now you can take this flip out finder and you can tilt it up, but as I said before, the viewfinder itself is very small. Of course, I can't really get a shot of it there, but it is very small, and it's terrible. It's just not something you're going to use. Like I said, not to judge exposure or anything like that. You're going to use this flip out finder here. It's really, really good. Plus, it has all your touchscreen controls. On these new Sony cameras, there's very little controls on the outside of the camera. I mean, on this particular one, you do have this multifunction wheel that I spoke of earlier, and everything else is menu driven off the inside of this screen. If we flip it open, we can see there is a few things here. You can see one of them is the night shot, which I'm not going to talk about right now. It's not the greatest in the world. It does work. There's a light, which I will discuss, the playback and the power functions, and the projector. And over here, you have your inputs on the camera, and the one input you have there is the micro HDMI, and that one there is, actually these are both HDMIs. One is HDMI out. It will output your videos from the camera, and this one here is your projector in, so you can go from another HDMI device. The cable is included with the camera, and basically what you can do is you can use this camera as a projector. I believe they're right here, is you have a headphone input, which works very well, and a microphone input, which is really nice, and that is just your standard, I believe, 3.5 millimeter stereo jack. And I tested it out the other day using some Sony stereo mics, and they worked out really well. So here's some projected images that I shot the other day, and you can see we're in a parking garage at night, and it's not even completely dark in this room, and you can see this is Sony's most powerful projector they have ever put on a camera, and you can see it is pretty bright and sharp. You can see as we're traveling through this parking structure, and I'm basically juggling two cameras right now, handheld, and you can see it's quite good. So there it is, projected on a piece of reflector board, and you can see it's quite sharp, and there is a focus adjustment on the camera, and you can see it does a great job. It's a very high resolution monitor on the camera, and you can see it's very sharp and clear, another parking structure. And I really like the flip out finder on the camera. I understand it's not, ideal for all the situations, because a lot of times you want to use that rear finder, but the flip out finder is just, it's real high resolution, and it really gives you a representation of what you're going to see in the final product. The camera also features a LED light here, which is great for like a little bit of fill, a little bit of eye light. It's not going to set the world on fire. It's just your basic, very, 2 LED light. So here's a quick zooming shot, and that was zoomed all the way in. And here you can see the night shot capabilities of the camera, shooting at night. And you can see it does a very good job. Everything's very clear and sharp and detailed, and also everything is in autofocus, and it's working very, very well. And coming up here is a quick day shot, and just so you can see how it handles the color red.